Ladies and gentlemen, we have on the show today an old friend from back, I think around 96, 97 was when we first met, Mr. Julian
Wow.
Taylor. I think it was when Staggered Crossing first came on the scene. I think we either did some Watchmen shows or I heard about you from Ralph back then. Um,
Okay.
and I,
Yeah, because we did our first record it came out in 2000. So I guess we what year did we start? 96 was when we started. So
okay,
maybe you're right. Yeah,
it was
maybe
somewhere
you're right.
around there when we first met, and then your record came out, and then by the time that happened, I think I was heavy into the Thornley camp, and you did a bunch of shows with Thornley as well. Um,
Yeah, we did a bunch of shows with you and the Watchmen on the first record, and a bunch of stuff with you and Thornley on I think the second and the third record.
wow, wow.
Yeah.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is Julian Taylor. As I said, I've known him for a while. He's a brilliant musician. He's a really great soul, and I'm happy to have him on the show today. We're going to
Thanks,
start with the basic catch-all, which is, "Hey, Julian, what are you at?"
man. Where am I at? I'm here in Fenland Falls, just sitting in my living room. Fans are blowing. It's a beautiful day.
Hmm.
Staring out at the lake. Gonna take my 1970 Mustang for a drive because it's that kind of a day, and probably jump in the lake, and that'll be my shower for the day. So things are pretty good.
That's not a bad day. Yeah, you've got. I'll have to dig up a picture of your car. You've got a really cool looking car. That's you inherited it from somebody, I believe the story was.
My grandfather loved. Well, it's funny that I should say my grandfather loved old cars. He was old, so he had old cars.
He loved cars of his era.
Yeah, exactly. It's funny. I actually I was dating a girl once. I know. I'll tell you that offline. About yeah. I just,
It's all good. This is as I said, this is the beauty of the Whiskey Wednesday. It's not about saying the right thing.
well, yeah. I'm sure she was wondering, like, everybody. I'll tell you the story. Everybody,
Sure.
you know, there's pornography on the internet,
Hmm.
and she wondered why I was looking at mature porn, and I said, well, they're all my age. I can't look at all the young girls anymore, man. Come on.
I know it gets to be a
So
little bit ridiculous.
yeah,
It does get a
so
little bit, and the only problem with the internet porn these days is that I've finished it. I'm waiting for the new
yeah,
season. It's just like
yeah, right, exactly.
COVID put me into a massive finishing all the porn on the internet thing. Oh my.
There you go. Funny.
So you're gonna go for a drive in your car. You were out this weekend. You were up. You played at West Bend. What's your initial thoughts of that place?
Oh my God, it's absolutely heaven. It's gorgeous. They've got such a wonderful thing going on there. Thank you so much for having me and thinking of me. And it was just a beautiful thing, man. Just a beautiful thing.
It's a really neat spot. I'm so happy that I can share it with my musical friends, and also non-musical friends who come up for visits and stuff. They're always amazed when they go there. You had a great show there. I was really
Thank
impressed at the scope of the show. It captured Julian Taylor, the singer-songwriter. It captured the little sort of bluesy, funky player, the R&B soul. You covered so much in. I think you played for about 90 minutes. I couldn't believe how much of you we saw. How are you these days? I know as an artist too, like I have a hard time sometimes just crafting together a set because there's been so much. Um,
You've done a lot too, man. Like
I jump
you've
all
got,
over the place. Yeah,
yeah,
there's
me too.
there's the rock
It's
and
totally
roll,
that way.
there's the commercial stuff, there's the folk stuff, there's the country stuff, and it's often hard to sort of distinguish who you are as an artist when you want to present yourself to a new crowd. You did a really fantastic job of it. I was blown away at how you covered all of your
Thanks,
past
man.
history in a single solo show. How hard is that to put together?
For me, it's relatively easy now because of the amount of times that I've spent on stage. You know,
Hmm.
it's harder to do with a band. I'll tell you that. When it's just me, I find it really easy to navigate because I remember most of the songs that I've written. Not all of them. Luckily, there's an imprint and a recording of some of it. That's why I like, they're records.
Yep.
Records of time and space, and thank God I can go back and learn some of the songs. I wish I had everything recorded because there's so many songs that I've written that I just absolutely don't remember
They're
at
just
all.
gone, yeah.
Yeah, they're gone into the ether. Perhaps you know, you don't know. Maybe they'll come back another time. But I love being able to jump around like that. I don't think I really jumped into much of the rock era of what I've done, and maybe I should. People like I was in Sault Ste. Marie, and people. I forgot to do Stagger Crossing's big hit Further Again, but I was asked, and I felt bad when I came off stage because it seems in some parts of the world, normally like Alberta and Northern Ontario, for me, they really enjoyed the Stagger Crossing stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, was that where you had the biggest impact as a band?
In Northern Ontario and yeah, and also Alberta.
Yeah. I think did you do Key to Bala with us at one point?
I honestly don't remember. I can't. You played there with, maybe it was Thornley, not Watchmen.
I think it was Thornley, yeah. And I remember
Yeah, I
people
think.
really digging your stuff. Like the band was really quite hot at the time. The record was still out, and everything was. This was before the dismantling of the infrastructure of the record company that turned us all into jaded old idiots. When we were all still excited and happy to be playing for beer in the fridge.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, you guys were an amazing band. How
Thanks,
are
man.
you these days? You've got a new band now. There's the Julian Taylor band, which you've done Desert Star, and you had another record after Desert Star, right?
Yeah, we had a record called Avalanche,
I must have missed that one.
and
How did I miss that one? Was that during COVID or something?
no, it didn't get the I guess the support that we thought it would get,
Okay.
which is fine. Um, I think it's the band's most cohesive record, to be honest, and it's basically the launching pad to the Ridge. If you listen to the songs on Avalanche, you can tell what's coming next.
Okay. Oh, that's interesting. I'm gonna have to go back and revisit Avalanche because I had Desert Star, which I think the last time I saw you before Westbam was somewhere around the Dora Keo on in the neighborhood there, and you happen to have vinyl with you, and I
Right.
grabbed a copy. I must have missed that. I'm gonna have to go back and listen. And your
Yeah,
work,
no, I think you'll really enjoy that one.
okay, that's fantastic. And you have a new record coming out, which I'm trying to remember the name of now. It's eluding me. What's the new record titled?
It's Beyond the Reservoir.
Beyond the Reservoir. Okay.
Yeah.
How much of that is a play on words, or is there any play on words?
A little bit. Um, Accidentally, but also intentionally.
Yeah.
Because the reservoir actually was a place in Toronto, and it was like this place where the high school kids would go and smoke up and just sort of, you know, gather and loiter, and tattoo artists and skateboarders and things like that kind of thing, graffiti artists, rather, not tattoo artists, graffiti artists, sorry.
Yeah.
And just gather. It was like parents would be like, "Where's my kid?" And then, oh, probably at the reservoir. And that was sort of like the new record stretches out and sort of exercises the muscles that were used within the songwriting of the Ridge, where the Ridge starts off and you can tell, and then I'm just a kid,
Mm-hmm.
and that's why maybe that's why that connected at the time that it did with people, because it's so innocent.
Yeah.
It feels so innocent. That song itself really, I think, reminds people of what they experienced maybe as children, especially from our era. I don't know what's going to happen with the new Renaissance when our kids start putting out music, and their generation starts putting out music. We'll see, because they're the ones that are going to certainly change the next chapter of music, not us.
Yeah.
But I felt like that was, the natural evolution was to tell the next chapter of the story. So if the Ridge was like, me as a kid and sort of starting to grow up, and Ballad of the Young Troubadour, you get me like, teenage era, and then Beyond the Reservoir flies into like absolute turmoil as
Hmm.
a teenager, which is why it's a deeper, darker, maybe even more poignant record. It may take people, and it may not take people very long to um, gravitate to it, but once they sort of, it could take a little bit of time. I don't know. We'll see what happens, but it's certainly about a more troubling time in my life. And halfway through that record, it leads to a more beautiful side of life where you find your identity, you know who you are, and it just gets lighter. It's more hopeful. So Beyond the Reservoir, also, I guess you could say, the way I looked at it was like a reservoir is a stagnant body of water. And we were all kids in this area, just like doing absolutely nothing and no good for ourselves and for anybody around us.
Hmm.
And some of us didn't make it out alive. Certainly that is part of the record. And I got to make it out alive. I found where I fit in this world and who I am, being a Black Mohawk, and identifying as that. At the same time, I don't have some of the lived experiences that some First Nations people do. I don't live on a reservation. I wasn't born on a reservation, and I have family that was. But my experience and my lived experience was being in the city. My lived experience was also about, not really wanting to tell people that I was First Nations, and not really wanting to even be Black for that matter. Like it wasn't, I didn't think it was cool, and it still isn't quote unquote cool. It's just who I am, and I'm cool. So that's okay.
Exactly.
But, um, you know, I don't want anybody to look at it and go, oh, well, it's cool to be this. It's not. It's cool to be you. And that's the point. Um, but at one point, I guess if you asked me, I actually would have rather been white. It would have been easier, rather than to stand in a room and be Indigenous and hear people talk about Indians in a derogatory way, or even actually be in a room full of people and be one of the only Black people and hear people talk about Black people derogatory and not stand up for yourself. Like, so and people using the N-word and me not saying anything, just going about my business, trying to fit in and have people like me. And so Beyond the Reservoir feels like it is a bit more of like, okay, I got past all of that turmoil and past that stagnant body of water, as well as also say, I'm in a way, because I'm not from a reservation, I'm also saying like, here's my life experience, and it's valid as well. I'm trying to learn more about both parts of my heritage. I'm trying to learn as much as I can about being just a human being as every day goes by. So I don't know. I think it's a cool record. I think it's the best work I've ever done so far, especially from a lyrical point of view. And I'm talking too much, so I'll stop.
No, that's what this is all about. This is all about talking, and you know, it's it's interesting to hear you say all that. Like I say, I've known you since, I mean, I've known you since at least 2000. You may have been sort of on my radar before then. Um, and it's so interesting to hear you, 20 odd years later talking about the struggle that you were having at the time. I mean, we all went through that struggle of trying to realize that, yes, we are cool as individuals, and, we can be ourselves. But getting to that point was so much more, I hate to use the word challenging, but it's the word that keeps coming up. So much more challenging for, my Black and Indigenous and gay friends and stuff like that. It's just I love now that we're talking more openly about it, and people are bringing up these points in a more honest conversation. It's a great thing to hear people talking about it.
Yeah,
And
it's way more better, I tell you. I mean, I can't imagine what it might be like to, be gay as well. I mean, like you know, and gender identity, and nobody talking about these things. It's like the words that people used back in the day were so derogatory and so offensive. I even used them because we were taught to use them.
yep.
Um, You know, it's like my cousin Teddy. I remember Teddy. He passed a little while ago, but he had Down syndrome, and I just know life was hard. Like, you could feel it.
Yeah, we don't,
It didn't have to be.
as a human race, we don't go out of our way to make sure that other people are okay enough, and that's something that I'm learning to do more and more. And people being okay means also not using the language that I was taught, not telling the jokes that I was taught, not
Sure.
doing the immediate judgment that I see, and it's not just racial. It's with a bunch of things. There's I know that my mind, I
Yeah,
have a very
it
judgmental
runs.
mind. It's all across. It doesn't matter what color you are, or what any of your preferences are. Like the second I see you, I start creating a something in my mind, and I'm trying more and more not to do that. Just see people as people, and understand that everybody has a story, and these stories are all, most of them are fantastic. I mean,
Yeah, no
human
doubt.
nature is pretty incredible, and it's a great. I don't know. I think it's a good age. I think it's a really good age, and I'm glad that you feel this way, and that you feel that you're expressing it in your music too. That's amazing. You're following your story.
Yeah,
You're very
following the
lucky.
path, man.
You're very lucky.
Thanks, man. I
Yeah.
feel lucky.
It was the morning after Thanksgiving. I woke up and it was the day after my grandmother had passed. It was a funny thing. I just wrote a story down on a piece of paper, and I never thought that it would become a song. But it did. I never thought that the picture would become an album cover, and it did. It was mornings like these when the breeze whistled through the trees. The fog would hover and the grass would still be wet. I'd put on my rain boots and I'd get dressed and head down to the barn beside the chicken coop. I'd follow her out the front door, down the path, through the brushes and past the pond. My sister and I used to catch frogs there, until the house sold and we had to move on. Now there's a westbound wind blowing through the ridge again. You can stay in or go outside and wait for it to die, but either way, it never ends. Then make our way past the dog pen, through the fields to the stables where the horses lay. I'd shovel manure, clean their beds, and prepare their feed for the day. My favorite horse was named Frosty, until Sherry gave birth to a calf named Zarif. I swear I was there to witness his birth and share in that incredible memory. Now there's a westbound blowing through the ridge again. You could stay in or go outside and wait for it to die, but either way, it never ends. Never ends. She taught me how to ride. She used to sing me lullabies. She watched me take my first steps in the kitchen when I was just a kid. Those were the early years where we were taught to have no fear, and everything seemed so clear. I'd follow her out the front door, down the path, through the brushes and past the pond. My sister and I used to catch frogs there, into the household and we had to move on. Now there's a westbound wind blowing through the ridge again. Could stay in or go outside and wait for it to die, but either way, it never ends. It never ends. It never ends. Never ends. It never ends. Thank you very kindly.
You played a song called Murder 13. Is it called Murder 13 or Murder Number 13?
It's called Murder 13.
Okay, that's what I thought it was, but I remember the lady talking to you before the show was calling it Murder Number 13, and I couldn't remember which the title properly was. That was a pretty intense song.
Murder 13.
Murder 13. And is this what you're talking about reflecting back on some of the past and some of the not so great parts of the past?
Yeah, I mean, from the time I was, I guess, I don't know, maybe 19 years old until I was about, I don't know, 26, 27. I think I buried close to 23 friends.
Wow.
Like, yeah, death surrounded me for a while, whether it was suicide, accidents, overdoses, and then murder. I had three friends of mine murdered. And Murder 13 is about a friend of mine who, he and I knew each other from, early days of high school, even before that, literally, but high school is when we really became friends. And I mean, I won't get into it too deep because it's also rather personal and it's also rather dangerous to talk about, to be honest, which is why I had such a hard time writing the song, because I didn't want to talk about any of the events of the actual murder because, well, like I said, dangerous. Not sure where that puts me, even, you know what I mean? So I'd rather not, but he lost his life. I remember the day that happened. I remember being one of the last numbers in his cell phone and the cops picking me up. What an experience that was to be, thrown into jail. And the first thing you do is you get into that little room with the cops and I couldn't believe it. First question, Mr. Taylor, did you kill so-and-so?
Yeah.
Like,
wow.
Whoa. Okay. No. Tears coming down my face, freaking out. Second question, if you didn't kill so-and-so, do you know who did? Second question, like, oh my God. We had, so that's what Murder 13 is about. We one of my mom's closest friends and a family friend, and I had to go back and I asked this person whether or not I was allowed to talk about this in the next record. And she and I spoke. And this is another friend who was actually gunned down by the Toronto police, a black boy, and shot in an alleyway. He was doing nothing. He had his hands in his pocket. They thought that he had a weapon on him, but literally he was just, they shot him. Didn't really hear about that too much on the news. Like you don't hear about a lot of these things. You're hearing more about them because, everybody's got a camcorder in their hand and they were able to, horrifically capture the murder of George Floyd and so many others. But it does happen, and I needed to say something about it on this record, which is why the record's so much darker than the other one. This is what was happening in my world around me, and like I said, I wasn't super involved in it. I finally had a chance to talk to my parents about it because they sort of had an idea, didn't have an idea, and I'm like, yeah, the police had a shotgun in my face at one point in time during some raid, and I was like, oh my god! And I was always the one at the reservoir that they would target. It was always the black kids.
Right.
So that kind of stuff had to be talked about. I talked to this kid's mom, my friend's mom, and she's a friend of mine too. Now that I'm older, she's not just my friend's mom; she's a friend. And asked her if I could talk about it. She said, "Yeah, as long as you don't mention any names, as long as you don't do that, it's the truth of what's happened, and I'm cool with it." So it shows up on a song called "Stolen Lands" on my record. The song also takes pot shots at Woody Guthrie. There's a lyric in the thing in the song that says, this land is your land. This land is my land. This land was made for you and me. No, wasn't it? That's a poor choice of words by Woody Guthrie. The land was stolen and built on slavery.
Mm-hmm. It's amazing to hear you tell your story. It really is. And I think it's really, a lot of my favorite artists are artists that have kind of documented their life journey through music. I mean, some of them are narrative storytellers where you can't tell if they're talking about their own life or not. I do find it so much more engaging when you hear these stories in music from the people that live them, and it seems like that's really what you're kind of putting out right now is stories from your
So
life.
far,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's pretty darn cool.
some people around me want me to just jam it out and funk it up a little bit more next time around, but
yeah. How are you
Appreciate
feeling
it.
about this new record coming up after such a great success with The Ridge?
I gotta admit that I'm a little bit worried, and then I'm trying to zen out and not worry about it too much. I mean, I don't know. I know that people really dog the Ridge, but this is not the Ridge. This is beyond the reservoir. And if you're a fan of mine, and you like the output that I've released, then you're gonna love it. And I hope it brings some other people closer to what I've done. There's some really wonderful work on this record. I mean, Seeds is a song that I find is powerful. Somebody
Right.
after the show yesterday, a musician friend of mine, Civil Ray, she said, "I think it should be like Hallelujah." I'm like, okay, well, that's really sweet of you to say. It's not, but very sweet of you to say.
Seeds is a wonderful song. I heard that at West Bend and it stuck with me. Pretty beautiful for sure.
Thanks, man. Yeah, and love to you and your family. You guys are saints.
Oh, well, thank you, Julian. Is there anything coming up that you want to talk about? Or I know you got your new record, you got some big tours coming up the fall. When's the record coming out?
October 14th.
And are you anticipating vinyl for that date?
God, no. It's so backed up. Like,
I know it really
dude,
is.
we'll have CDs, we'll have it on digital, and then we'll have a vinyl launch, because that's just the way of the world at the moment.
Yeah, the vinyl is taking the vinyl supply chain is way down. It
Yeah.
always has been, but it's even worse now. So, well, I'd love to hear the new stuff, and I look forward to the release. It was fantastic to have you back up, to have you up for the first time at West Bend, and have you back in my physical life for a couple hours when you were here. I haven't seen you in so long. It was
Yeah, it was great to see you too.
It was recharging for my soul. It was really nice.
Ditto, man, for sure.
Yeah, usually hold on, I got somebody at the door here. I have to walk over.
Do you want it on a horizontal or a vertical?
Oh, hello. Come on in. Yeah, it's all good. It's all good. I'll take that.
Okay. See you later.
Okay, cheers, Joyce. That's our neighbor bringing over a blueberry pie for Allison, because Allison's gluten-free and our neighbor cooks gluten-free. So she's just
That's awesome.
Pie, which is fantastic. A nice blueberry pie for Allison on a summer day. Ladies and gentlemen watching the show, you have been listening to me chat with Mr. Julian Taylor. There is the Julian Taylor Band. There is the JTB still playing? Do you guys still play at all?
Yeah, I mean, like some of the guys just play in the Julian Taylor is what I'm going as right now live. So some of those cats are still playing with me, and we may even make a record one of these days, something swampy.
That's cool. I love that you keep it open like that. You're not setting yourself in stone, man. That's amazing.
Oh yeah, I really don't. It's just, what are you gonna do?
Exactly. You're absolutely right, man. Making your own path. It's lovely to see. Have
Thanks,
yourself a
brother.
wonderful day, and we will talk to you before
too.
too long. And that would be
Okay,
thanks
brother.
for taking the time to chat.
Thanks for the invite.
Cheers,
See you,
mate.
Ken.
Bye-bye.
Ciao.
Hey, how's it going? I'm Julian Taylor. I'm going to play a song from my new record. It comes out in October. The record's called Beyond the Reservoir, and the song that I'm going to play for you today is called Murder 13. It is about a close personal friend of mine who happened to be the 13th murder in the city of Toronto in 2005. And I don't know really what to say about the song other than that it's been one of those more painful things that's ever happened to me in my life, and I lost a lot of friends growing up. In this particular instance, it was one of the hardest because when somebody else's life is taken like that, it's beyond tragic. I enlisted the help of another close friend of mine, Freeman Dre, who's a singer-songwriter from Toronto. He was in my first band with me back in high school, and we were singer-songwriters together, and we had hopes and dreams, and it's so nice that we got to collaborate on this one because our friend was very dear and close to us both, and it was a hard story to tell. So, without further ado, here's Murder 13. One, two,
downstairs. Out there in the parking lot, a couple folded chairs. Down the block was Bedford Park. A lot of my friends went there. Wasn't nothing much, it could have been anywhere. It could have been anywhere. And I've had enough. Excuse me, I'm leaving. I just don't feel like being here anymore. Yes, I've had enough. Excuse me, I'm leaving. I just don't feel like being here anymore. Do you remember Cass Party? First year the Blue Jays won. But how could you forget that Joe Kadaki winning home run? Some of us got lost, some of us got crazy, running down Young Street. We were so young, we were so young. And I've had enough. Excuse me, I'm leaving. I just don't feel like being here anymore. Yes, I've had enough. Excuse me, I'm leaving. I just don't feel like being here anymore. In middle school we all started dealing. That's when I called you, and I was in over my head. Asked you to make a drop. Think about it's all you said. That's when I pass and cross, and I'm glad they did. I'm glad they did. And I've had enough. Excuse me, I'm leaving, and just don't feel like being here anymore. Yes, I've had enough. Excuse me, I'm leaving, and just don't feel like being here anymore. My name is Alice, and I was mad at 13.
There you have it. Murder 13 from Beyond the Reservoir comes out in October. Thanks, Ken, for the opportunity, and thanks everyone for listening.